start. Now, see, what we are discussing today, towards the end of yesterday's session, we discussed that one of the main important factors is managing change. And also some of the inputs which we got from people that that it's not the lower rung people who are resistant to change. Sometimes it is the senior most people who are resistant to change. The senior leadership is resistant to change. So basically, to address these two questions is our today's topic: leadership and change management, right? So
Yes.
what I would like to hear from you before we start formally is, do you have any feedback from what the deliberations you have done? Today is the third day of the formal training sessions. And any inputs you have from the deliberations of the last 2 days, that, any burning issues you have encountered or any clarifications that you want, if you could put across. Anybody
All
would
right.
like to share?
All right. Thank you. I'm sure we got the question. Is anyone, please, I'll just crave your indulgence that for clarity of the speeches, you will still approach. Do you have anyone with any comments? Excellency, any comment? All right. So, Excellency, coming. Okay, please, could you repeat? Somebody did not get what exactly
No,
you requested.
basically what we would like to hear from you is that what are your learnings from the 2 days of deliberations what we have? What are the core challenge? What are the anything you have resolved that yes, this is what I will do from these learnings? Okay, or any challenges which you find that these are the type of challenges which I will have in my leadership or in my change management. Any such burning issues which you would like to share, for which you feel that, like yesterday somebody said, it's very difficult to convince the senior leadership to change, right? And we
Okay.
address that query.
Okay.
So any other such queries which you have, or any observations which you have which you would like to share?
Anyone? Somebody has a comment to see me? If you can just hold on 1 second for me. All right. Well, none at the moment, and we seem to have almost a full complement. So I think we can just go ahead. Okay. So somebody's coming through. Somebody's coming through. All right. Please, Prof, you can just sit here. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Yes, sir.
Yeah, morning. So this is Emmanuel. So
Yes, sir.
yes, actually, just about that issue, the issue about changing, resistance to change by more senior people is a serious
Hmm.
problem, but I think it can be solved
Yes.
because every problem can be solved with dialogue.
Yes.
Try to, perhaps routinely give some training or workshop on the application of IT in what we do, even to the senior people, and letting them see the need and how easy it can be for the migration gradually. We shouldn't expect a drastic dynamics in the change. Otherwise, of course, that's why one of the reasons why there will be such inertia. But if it is something gradual, and perhaps the institutions can also uh, uh, have some incentives for them to be able to adopt, because most people don't have access to, they will complain that they don't have computers or they don't have this and that, or software or programs, and mostly software. So if the universities will be able to, the university management will be able to provide some of this software uh, as incentive for them to be able to embrace the move
Yes.
from the older way of doing things to the new and more productive way of doing things. I think that would be helpful.
Yes,
That's my
absolutely.
thinking.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. See, this is very, very important. And but see, one thing you have to understand, okay, that the way technology is evolving today, you don't have any time for gradual change. Okay. Now remember, okay, and this we will cover during the presentation. Okay. There's a very famous quote which says that if the rate of change outside your organization is faster than the rate of change inside your organization,
Hmm.
then your organization will start to decline. Now you imagine you are in the middle of a whitewater rapid. Okay? The water in the river is going at full speed. Okay? Can you go at a slower speed than that water?
No.
What will happen if you go at a slower speed against of that water? What will
Drown.
happen if you try to go against against the tide? Right?
Yeah.
You cannot survive.
Hmm.
Right? So the thing is that now, with the way yesterday we saw the 40-year trajectory of how the information economy, how the global knowledge economy has built up. Now, in this knowledge economy, the rate at which knowledge is expanding, and you say, I will go for gradual change, you will not have any gradual change. You will have a very quick descent. Okay. So, if the organization has to decide that do they want to safeguard the people who have got their own vested interest, and at the cost of those people, do they want the organization to suffer? Now, the point is what? That suppose if you are working in a closed economy, okay, which economy does not have access to the outside world, then what will happen? Like, for example, today, I'm not saying that this is the case. Suppose you are working with an organization in Nigeria, and that organization says, I am going to deal only with Nigerians. I will do the way I want, right? So that organization will remain behind. And as a result of that, and suppose that organization is very important to the country, then what will happen? The country will remain behind. We talked about national competitiveness. All that will, disappear. So you will, not only that organization suffer, it will take the country down with it. Now, if the country decides that no, I want to progress, I don't want this organization, then that organization will be replaced by some other organization. Correct? So that is very, very important. Okay. I think we are almost 13 minutes over the scheduled time. So I think, Professor Lambe, with your permission, maybe we can start formally now.
Yes, please. Please go ahead. We have full complement now.
Yeah. So everybody, all the
Yes.
participants are there, or
Yeah,
everything we are
just
expecting?
one more person we're expecting, but please go ahead.
Okay. So we will start. Okay. Okay. So I will share my screen. You need to make me the co-host.
Okay, I'll do that right away. Um, Done. You have been made the co-host. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Leadership and change management. Leadership and change management are very interesting topics by themselves. But today, what we are here to discuss is leadership and change management, how we should do leadership and change management for ICT driven reforms in governance and in education. Right? In the perspective of ICT driven reforms in governance and education, we're going to discuss the topic of change management. This is a bit about myself. Yesterday, I've been given a very, very good introduction by Dr. Lambe. We don't need to repeat this. Now, when we talk about leadership and change management, like we said, the change on the inside has to be proportionate or larger than the change on the outside, right? So, what are the changes happening on the outside? In many ways, the future is now. ERP and CRM came years back. Cloud computing, data warehouses, okay, digital banking, blockchain, digital currency, e-letters of credit, electronic letters of credit, real-time settlement. See the banking environment. We used to deposit a check, it will take 3 days to clear. You deposit a check within 30 minutes, depending on the banking system, depending on the country. Sometimes it clears instantly, sometimes it clears in 30 minutes. In Dubai, we have clearance in 2 hours. In India, also now it has come. Within 2 hours, you deposit the check gets cleared. So we are moving more and more closer to real-time settlement. We are more and more digital ledgers are coming. The age of fintech is here, and you have to be very careful because in this fintech, equal number of fin frauds also happen. So what are the things to come? Okay, all these are things to come? No, they are already here. These things are real. This is clear and present now in the economy, right? In digital trade, we have electronic bills of lading. We have electronic contracts for digital deals. This event which is happening is a live example of digital communication, of what benefits we are able to get of digital communication. All these are making the world a smaller place. And like we discussed yesterday, embracing technology is your fast track to upliftment. And this is the true emancipation, where you will be brought out from the drudgery of manual work and be elevated to do where machines do the drudgery of the manual work and you are left to do new and better things. Now, if I truly want a true emancipation and I truly want to go digital, as a leader, what are the change management steps I should take before going digital? Remember, majority of the technology companies give their names as technology solutions. Remember, technology is only an enabler, it is not a solution. Okay, right? I want to hammer a nail into the wall. What is the solution? I need a hammer. Is the hammer a solution? The hammer is a tool. The solution is somebody who knows to use the hammer, who knows how to use a hammer correctly and hammer that nail in the wall. If somebody does not know, he will hit the hammer on the wall and he will have a hole in the wall. Or he will hit the nail the wrong way, the nail will get bent. Right? So remember, somebody comes and tells you, I have implemented this software for 97 universities. What worked for 97 universities may not work for you. You have to remember that. You have to see whether it fits you and what are the steps that you need to do before going digital. That is what we are going to look at, right? And those steps are in the context of leadership and change management, right? Whatever steps you take, those have to be taken in the context of what it is that you want to achieve, right? What is this? Anybody can recognize this picture? This is a photograph of Mount Everest, the tallest mountain peak in the world. Okay. All of us want to reach the peak. All of us want to reach the peak of excellence. And in whatever we do, IT, AI should enable us to reach this peak of excellence. If we are not reaching this, then the change or leadership is not worth it. Can anybody make any sense of this? It's a flow chart which is supposed to make people understand how a system flow happens. It's the most confused flow chart I've ever seen. This is not what we want from our AI. We want something clear and simple to understand. We want something that is going to make our lives easier, not our life confused and difficult, right? In the name of change, we don't want complexities. We want simplicity, but simplicity not at the cost of compliance, not at the cost of security, right? So in this context, my question to you is, what is leadership? What is leadership, especially in the age of AI? What is leadership in the age of AI? That is my question to you. Is it money? So this lady is writing euros and rupee and is talking of billions and US dollars. And is leadership about money? Is it about charisma? Is it about that, okay, a leader is very charismatic and, just by the way the leader carries himself or herself, they are able to inspire their crowd? Or Is it about collaboration? The leader takes everybody along and works. What is it about? What is leadership? Yes, to a certain extent, leadership, a leader must have all these qualities. Okay, is it insight that this leader knows more than all of us? Is it all of these things? What do you think is leadership? Okay, leadership is all of these things, yes, because if you don't earn enough money and you are not able to motivate your employees, what is the use of that leadership? Okay, charisma is not necessary, but then it's a good to have, right? If you have that kind of personality and if you have that kind of feel which inspires people, right? And that charisma is not only about appearance, it's also about the way that you interact with people. You need, yesterday we talked about what's in it for you. So as a leader, you come across to people in a way that appeals to their eye. That is what charisma is all about. So this is the leadership which you have to talk about. That you have to appeal to the needs of your followers. You have to appeal to the needs of your team. And once you do that, they will always love you. They will always like you. They will always follow you with full dedication. Now, for them, that what you say should be music to their ears, you have to know what they will like to hear. But of course, you cannot always tell them what they would like to hear. You have to deliver the message which has to be delivered. So in that context, you will deliver your message in a manner that is pleasing to their ears. That is what charismatic leadership is all about. Okay. Yesterday we talked about making things bottom up. Involve the people from bottom up across the way, so they will own the decisions which you make. Correct? They will own the decisions which you make. And that is very, very important. Correct? Insight. Can a leader have only his own insight? Is one man's brain enough to lead a country or an organization? The insight, yesterday we talked about a learning organization. A leader must be such who inspires his team to share their insights so that there is a collaborative know-how, collaborating knowledge, collaborative insight which will help the organization grow. It is said one of the most successful leaders are those who have the confidence to recruit people who are smarter than them, right? So that they will be able to collab. They will not think, oh, this guy is going to come and take away my job. If the leader is good at what he is doing or what she is doing, they are not going to lose their job. So a good leader who's confident in his or her abilities will always hire people who are smarter than them, right? Now, when we are talking of leadership, I will just pause for again just for 60 seconds over here and invite you to think that what are the most important things a leader needs to influence in an organization. Just 60 seconds. What are the most important things a leader needs to influence in an organization? Tell me. Yes. What are the most important things a leader needs to influence in an organization?
Do we have any respondents?
Okay. The
Any respondents?
most important thing a leader needs to influence in any organization is the people who make the organization, because those are the people who are going to make the organization succeed. It is the employees who make the organization run. So a leader first has to evaluate what is the mood of that place, workplace where the leader is working. If the leader does not understand the psyche of the workers, how will the leader be able to lead? This is an extract from a survey which an organization called Gallup does every year, the state of the global workplace. And this is their 2025 report. Okay, 2026 report has not yet come. It will be released soon. Okay, so this is the latest report which has, and the heading of this topic, it says, is the global workplace at breaking point? And it says employee engagement fell, costing the world economy 438 billion in lost productivity. Remember, what does employee engagement mean? Not this engagement, okay, where you get engaged by giving each other a ring. Employee engagement means how engaged an employee is in doing his or her work. A fully engaged employee is an employee who gives 100% to his or her work. A disengaged employee is somebody who is not bothered about what he's doing. And an actively disengaged employee is one who's actually preventing, not only not doing his work, but is preventing others from doing the work. Now, the primary cause for this drop in employee engagement was the managers themselves are not engaged. This is the same thing which yesterday and today also what Emmanuel raised, that if the leadership is not engaged, how will the people lower down be engaged? Right? Let us look at a snapshot of this. Okay. Global employee engagement. What percentage of employees are fully engaged in their work? This is from 2009 till 2024. 2009 was as low as 12%. 10 and 11 the study was not done. 17 the study was not done. Then 13, 14, 15, 16, 19, 21. Then in this is 20 was the COVID year, so it went down. Then 21, 23, 23, and in 24 again it has gone down. Right? So imagine you have an organization in which you have 100 people working and only 21 people are actually giving 100% to the job. 89 are not working. Okay, either they are not working or worse, they are not working and they're not allowing others to work. So this is what you need to do in your organization first. Determine the level of employee engagement. How many people are really dedicated? How many people are not dedicated? If people are not dedicated now, when you are doing things manually, they will be even more not dedicated when you are doing things by AI. Right? So it's very important to separate the grain from the chaff and get out all these. Either you train those people who are not engaged to perform better, or you get them out of the way. Correct? Now, ultimately, another very important study, this is all from the State of the Global Workplace report. If you are interested, I'm happy to share the entire report with you. It's a long, almost 50 plus report. You can study it, and you can go through it and you can study that and you can see how the workplace trends work. Now, this is global life evaluation, that what percentage of people worldwide are thriving. Now, this has 2024 rating is 33%. That only 33% of the world workplace is thriving. Thriving means this is in their personal lives, not in the organization lives. But ultimately, if a person is not thriving in his personal life, do you think he'll be able to work well in his professional life? Definitely not. So as a leader, you have to think that how can you enrich the personal life of your employees in a better manner, that they will have a better evaluation of their life. Right? You can study more about this in the report. I'm happy to share that with you. You can study this entire State of the Global Workplace report and understand what are the trends happening worldwide. What are the trends happening in Africa? What are the trends happening in Nigeria? And why this would help you is because if this is happening all over the country, your organization cannot be very much different from it. And the report will also give you suggestions of how to overcome the challenges. Right? So understanding your people and understanding engagement is one very, very important aspect. Another very important aspect is to have timely, accurate, and complete accounts. Okay, structure your accounting system in line with your workflow. If your accounting is not done on time, you will not be able to give reports on time. If you're not able to get reports on time, you will not be able to take decisions on time. So now these are the two more main components of leadership which I would like you to focus on: people management and money management. And how you can do people management properly? You have a proper, well structured human resource monitoring system and human resource evaluation system. And same way, you have a very robust accounting system which correctly captures all the economic realities of the business, whether the business is doing well or not. Once you have taken a leadership position on these, that yes, I want to have a streamlined HR department, I want to have a streamlined accounting department, and I will empower my employees to do this, then half the battle is won. There are many, many more important areas in the leadership domain which you should focus on. But in the constraint of time, right now I'm talking only about these two main elements. Once you have, so what you have done, you have decided where you want to reach. We said in the beginning, I want to reach the peak of excellence. You have
All right.
evaluated how you are. Sorry, somebody has a
Sorry,
question.
please. Sorry to interrupt. Somebody has a question.
Yeah, please go
Yeah, I
ahead.
think just some clarification. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank you. This is Emmanuel again. Um,
yeah.
so I am just wondering, although maybe I have an idea of what it can be, but just to ask your opinion, do you think there will be a difference between the leadership, this leadership styles between an entrepreneur who is managing his own business and a government employee who is a leader in a government establishment?
You tell me, will there be a difference?
I think there should be no difference. However,
Why?
yeah, because leadership is leadership, and the whole aim is for the success of whatever establishment it is, whether it is an individual's business or a government establishment. Uh,
Ideally, what happens is, Emmanuel, ideally there should be no change.
exactly.
But in fact, there are change. There are changes. There are differences. Why?
Okay.
Because for this you have to understand the difference between two main things. There are two class of people. One is an entrepreneur and one is an enterpriser. If you see people like Richard Branson, okay, you see people like Elon Musk, okay, these people put their own money at stake. Okay, at least when they started, now they are putting other people's money at stake. Okay, and started a business. In India, you had somebody called as Dhirubhai Ambani. Okay, these are all, people who came up from nothing. Bill Gates, Steve Jobs. Okay, Bill Gates left his university and started Microsoft. Right, he was a Harvard student. He left Harvard and started Microsoft. Right, so these are people who took calculated risk and made things happen. Enterprises are people who are employees who don't take risk on their own, but they are very good at organizing things, so they make things. So if you take example of Jack Welch, he has made he has made GE very, very successful, but he's always been an employee of GE. He has never taken a risk. So you have to understand that if there's an employee and there's an entrepreneur, there will always be a difference. Because the employee is always an enterpriser. He cannot take an entrepreneurial risk. The employee doesn't put any personal thing at stake. If anything is lost, the company will lose. Maybe that person will use his reputation, but he will not lose any of his or her own money. Understand? That's a very important thing to understand, that an entrepreneur always has more responsibility, more risks than an enterpriser who may just be an employee. Right? Okay. So in the context of all this, let us look at what change management is all about. Okay. And one thing we know, that the only constant in life is change. Change is the only constant in life. Okay. Everything is going to change. Change is permanent. Okay. You have a choice. If you decide to change for the better, and then you do something proactive and change for the better. Otherwise, if the world leaves it to you to itself, you will change for the worse. Right? Correct? Right? You cannot say, I will not change, because the world around you is changing and you have to change with the times. Now, one very important lesson you must remember, and this is in the beginning itself, I discussed this with that confused chart and the simple chart, that whenever you are changing, Please don't become huge and complicated at the cost of people's mind, peace of mind, and happiness. Ultimately, you and I, what we are working, we are not working for any. People may say, "Oh, he's a very dedicated employee. He's very dedicated to the organization. He's very committed to the organization." But organization, all that comes second. My first commitment is to my family. The first commitment is to myself. If I am not happy, if I don't have peace of mind, if I don't have happiness, is anything going to help? So when you set up systems, keep people's peace of mind in mind. Don't think makes things too complicated that it becomes difficult to run. Whatever systems you develop, adapt, be flexible, develop fast reflexes, and always have a defense mechanism in place. These things are very, very important with any IT system that you may choose. The software you choose must be right. We said in the beginning, IT is an enabler, it is not a solution. Okay, so get a software which suits your organization. The best state of the art software will not solve your problems. It is not mapped to your specific needs. Just like I give the example of the nail, you put a nail on the wall and throw a hammer off it. It is not going to solve. You have to hammer it properly. So throwing IT at a problem will not solve it. Using IT correctly will solve the problem. Right? And before you all do all this, look at all these steps. Before you go for digitization, understand what are your long-term business vision and objectives, and also the short term. Understand and measure the existing methods. And very important, that's why I've put in red, that involve the users throughout and get them to own the project. And after all this is done, identify the most important project points which need attention and action that. If you try to fill everything at once, then it's going to be a problem. And then you have to do all this document information needs, recognize skills of users, identify connectivity requirements. You are going in such a village where there is no internet and you have cloud-based accounting. How is it going to work? It's not going to work. Either you arrange them for an internet connection or give them an offline solution which they can use without an internet connection, right? Again, just before it is made, design a prototype, see it works well. And at this stage, again, brainstorm, again, discuss with users at all levels. Input of staff on the front line is always, 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 always important, right? So re-engineering, studying what you are doing now and revisiting that in the context of where you want to be is very, very important before you go for any design, before you go for digitization of any kind. Don't try to save money in the wrong places. Cheap is not always best. Okay. What money you save now may mean lots and lots of costs later. Right? So don't only look at the acquisition cost of a software, also look at the maintenance price of the software. Right? And in today's world, people will come and sell you so many things. Before you buy those things, please understand whether you actually need them or not. If you don't need those things, so this gentleman has gone to buy a phone, and the sales girl, as she has been trained, this phone is SMS, voice phone, camera, Bluetooth, etc. And this person is asking, can I call? Can I call? And she has no answer to that. So whenever you go for any digital solution, make sure that you choose something that you need, because everything comes at a cost. Is okay, sir, if you don't, this part of the software, this feature is there, but it comes at a cost, and that things which you don't need, it makes the software slow. So avoid the distracting essentials, avoid the distracting extras and focus on the essentials. Now, along with this, if you have all the essentials in place and you get some extras for free, they may be calling it free, but actually there's no free lunch. You pay for it in one way or the other. But if you're getting the extras without the essentials which you need, there's no point. Focus on the essentials first. Distracting extras, avoid them in your decision-making process. And to take a proper, well thought of decision process, my advice always is to use a scoring model where you will give a weightage to each element of the solution that you need, and then you give it a score. So I have three softwares which I'm comparing here, and whichever gets the highest score, definitely I will go for it. Now, suppose if I don't evaluate in this way, it is quite likely that I will take a decision by what is in my mind, and there may be some emotional bias or other bias or some calculation bias, and I may end up making the wrong decision. Right? Right? Okay. And this is what I was telling you, that this is what the statement was from Jack Welch. If the rate of change on outside of the firm exceeds the rate on change on the inside, the end is here. This is what Jack Welch, who was the chairman of GE for so many years, has said. And similarly, we have another quote from Andy Grove, who was the chairman of Intel Corporation, that there is at least one point in the history of any company that they have to dramatically rise to the next level. And if they miss that moment, you start to decline, right? When the time of change has come and you don't change, you will be going against the tide and you will either drown or your body will be bashed against the nearest rock and you will die, right? So don't try to go against the tide. Recognize the time at which that point has come in your company that you have to change to dramatically rise. And if you don't change to dramatically rise, you will dramatically fall, right? Going on, many people say change management is thinking outside the box. So don't just keep thinking outside the box. Please step out of it. Act on the change policies that you would wish to do, right? And in the end, before we close, I'm going to leave you with a very powerful change management lesson from none other than Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, the ruler of Dubai and the vice president and prime minister of the United Arab Emirates. This statement, which he made, was at the height of the financial crisis in the year 2008. The financial crisis what was at its height. People were saying Dubai is going to become bankrupt. At that time, Sheikh Mohammed took an initiative to build an entire city which is named after him. Madinat Muhammad bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Muhammad bin Rashid city. In the heart of Dubai, he decided to build a whole new city named after him. Today, that city is fully occupied, tenanted, and has become a vibrant community. What is the statement which Sheikh Mohammed made at that time? The future does not wait for those who are hesitant. We do not anticipate the future, we build it. So, this is my recommendation to you as high profile leaders in the Nigerian education sector. Make the change happen. Do not be hesitant. Do not anticipate that I will also change when something else will change. Stop being a change acceptor. Become an agent of change. Become a developer of change. Like we said, if you don't change, the world will force you to change. So you proactively do things by which your organization can change for the better. Thank you very much. That's all I have. Considering the time constraints, that's all I have for the day. If you have any questions, I'm happy to take from you. And if you have any queries later, you always know you have asked at navigate.ae to answer your questions. We may not able to give you an instant answer all the time, but an answer will definitely come within 4 to 5 working days. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank
And
you so
please
much. Please
do
can
let
we
me
give
have your
a
question.
big round of applause? Thank you so very much. All right. We still have some time on our hands for questions and comments if there are. Another very beautiful and insightful presentation we've had. I don't know if there are any questions, comments, interventions from anyone. Do we have? None? Okay.
No questions?
Okay, no questions at the moment. All right. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
So now if you don't ask me any questions, then I will ask you some questions.
Please go ahead.
So tell me now, we said that if the change of the rate of change outside the firm is faster than the rate of change inside the firm, okay, how will you evaluate if the rate of what is the rate of change inside the firm and what is the rate of change outside the firm? How will you evaluate that?
I don't know if we got the question. Oh, okay, they did get the question. So I'm sure a couple of persons, participants are ruminating over it to see the reaction to that. Any immediate reaction, please?
Right?
All right, so
Because you,
we have a reaction coming through.
yeah, please.
Yeah, thank you. This is Emmanuel.
Oh,
So,
welcome back.
yeah, thank you. So, taking micro domain, for example, we are from the university, and then things are changing right now. For universities, changes can be evaluated by one of them is ranking, university ranking, to see, okay, this year, where are we ranked in Nigeria or in the world? So we have a position, let's say number one. Actually, like a year ago, 2 years ago, we were ranked number one, right? Number one in Nigeria, in the first public university in Nigeria. That's Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. So unfortunately, after 2 years, we dropped a little bit to four. So that means there are changes. Other people have improved their own situation and then overtaken us. So that means we have not been able to change with regards to how other people are changing, and that's why we dropped. So I think this is one of the ways in which we can rank the universities. Second one, I think, is also derived from that is maybe publications, student enrollment, alumni participation. So these are ways in which we can evaluate changes going on globally or in our country vis-a-vis what is happening in our university. You are muted.
All these things which you are saying are things which after they actually happened. Your university rankings dropped. Now, that is already a negative aspect. So what you are saying is not the rate of change. That is the thing which has already changed. Rate of change is the way the things are changing currently. So for that, you have very many frameworks for evaluation of that, because this is you have to evaluate the rate of change now. When you said university ranking went down, that means it has already changed, right? So today, if 5 new universities have opened, you have to see what they are doing different from me, how I can compete with me. Before your university starts going down, you will see that they are poaching your students. What students used to go there, they are coming. Students used to come to us are now going to them. So all these things, so there are many tools which can be used for this. One of them is pestle analysis, Porter's five forces analysis, scenario planning, and one very important weight which is there is external factor evaluation matrix, EFE. Okay. Now we can have a complete master class on this, how to use EFE, but you can do some research on that, So, and based on that external factor evaluation, you can see how the external factors are impacting your firm. And you can also evaluate how you understand? So market rate of growth outside, market rate of growth, technology life cycle, regulatory speed, all these things, customer turnover rate, these things you have to monitor on a live basis. Remember, your best system is what? If you have a good system, okay, a good system will tell you when things go wrong. Okay, if you are running in a manual system, you get reports 1 month after the system, after the you run reports after you will get read. Let's say you get your annual reports 3 months after the year is ended. It's too late. 3 months of the next year is already passed, right? So you need to have real time reports. So a good reporting system which gives you reports as soon as things go wrong. But I don't want a good reporting system. I want an excellent reporting system. An excellent reporting system is one which prompts me before things go wrong. So I can prevent the wrong from happening. You understand? And if I want to go one step ahead, okay, and I want to be super excellent, then I have a system which will prevent. There are certain things which happen, and because of that, I know these things are going to go wrong. That system will predict when those things will happen. So I will not reach that stage, that the stage of pre going wrong. Correct? And these type of systems, antennas you should have within the organization and outside the organization also. You should know when things are going wrong with your competitor and how you should be able to react to that. Right? Clear? Any other questions? Okay. I think the governor is asking something. Yes.
Good morning, Prof.
Good morning, Governor.
Oh, fine, we thank God. I just want to add to what Professor Balogun has just highlighted on the issue of, the ranking issue. While you are top and then next you step down, I think there could be two reasons to explain that. The first side of the story is the external sides, while the second side of the story is also the internal side. The external side has to do with having leadership effort that is influenced by political interference. So even if, for instance, one is trying to meet up with a particular target, then the political interference, if it is not in favor with that trend, you ended up not getting what exactly you want to upgrade yourself. So that leadership effort actually is being affected by the influence, by the political influence and the decision making at the same time. And the internal side has to do with also having the change in the leadership structure. When you start something now, someone may come up tomorrow as the leader, and then the continuity also breaks down. So you started something which actually you were able to take the university up. Suddenly you now step down because your tenure has expired. The next person that will come into the leadership will also have issues with what actually you have already laid down. To him, his interest is not even there. So I think there could be two reasons why the internal and then the external side that also can be used to explain what actually is happening to even some of the universities that maybe they are up and then next you see them stepping down, not just necessarily being the efforts of of the universities that already they were below your own ranking. This is what I just want to highlight. It's just an addendum to what he has just explained. Thank you, Prof. He has been muted.
Yeah. So thank you, Governor. I think these are very important factors which always have to be remembered. These are factors which we deal in on a day-to-day basis in our lives. And along the way, we have to find ways of how to meet these challenges and how to tackle these challenges. And I'm sure that, with you all being very well equipped leaders in your own right, you will be able to take a proactive decision on how to effectively manage change in your organizations. With that note, ladies and gentlemen, I wish you all the best in directing and concluding a very favorable transition to the effective use of AI in your organizations. And if you need any assistance from us in that, we are happy to be of service. Thank you very much. Shukran Jaziran.
Thank you so very much.
See you all
Please, can we
again
give him
very,
a
very
round of
soon.
applause? Thank you so very much, Mr. Huzaifa. We appreciate your presence with us once again today. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
for coming to this great event. It's one that will and should shape the dynamics to which we look at the lenses of our leadership, our communications, as well as our partnership with ourselves in our countries, in our parastatals, in our organization. So today, as Prof. Lambert have rightly said, I'll be presenting a paper titled Digital Inclusion and Future of Work. And it's centered to preparing African workforce for the knowledge society, because one thing in life is that as life is transient, which means it's dynamic, it does not stop. The moment you stop, it's either you're dead or you are phased out of that sphere. So one thing why this paper is centered is for us to understand the need for data inclusion. And when we call it digital inclusion, it has to do with the aspect of all dynamics of ICT, information communication technology. So I should share my slide now. Okay, so let me share my slide so that we can see what I'm presenting as I present. All right. Yes, so screen 2. Can everybody see my slide now, please?
Yeah, you can see it. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much. So once again, as I said, the essence of this is to ensure that we fully understand. Okay, I just want to be sure. Yeah, we fully understand. So going back to the basis of why we are doing it. So why digital inclusion? Digital inclusion means, what does digital inclusion mean in today's economy? It ensures that everyone, regardless of location, income, age, or gender, can access the use of digital technologies. And it also helps in availability of affordable internet. Now, I understand, well, when we go further, we'll see why Africa lack in this digital inclusion. One of the major reasons is because of affordable internet. I'm originally from Nigeria, so for I think that was not said. So I'm originally from Nigeria, so I know how much it takes for us to buy data compared to in developed countries and world. And it's those kind of stuff hinders growth in some digitalization of some of our aspects. So availability. So what when we talk about digital inclusion, it means availability of this affordable internet, digital devices, and essential digital services. Also, it enumerates the equipment of citizens with digital skills needed to participate in modern economic activities. So what are the digital skills? Some people say programming, some people say ICT, some people say networking. So all these are important in bringing about digital inclusion for growth in in our economy. And also it's also entails removing barriers that prevent full participation in digital economy. And I would say one of the barriers most times we don't like to say is human barriers, which will continue, because sometimes when we are so used to a certain style of what of learning, a certain style of doing something, when there's a shift, it brings about hindrance. There's this kind of, we call it rhetorical fortress. There's this kind of blockage to advancing into those places. So digital inclusion in today's economy enumerates everything that has to do with ensuring that regardless of anywhere you are, anybody you are, you can be able to access digital stuff. Also, we'll be looking at links between digital inclusion and workforce competitiveness. So, as I said, if any of us remember Nokia, I know we have great important people here. How many of us remember Nokia? We remember BlackBerry. They were one of the leading technology as it comes to do with mobile phones. But today, you can barely see or have someone that have those words, Nokia. And what was the main issue? It was big. It was transforming into the kind of market that the present world needs today. I remember when they were interviewing the Nokia CEO and say he said that he does not know what went wrong. So they did not do anything wrong, but the only thing they did wrong was not engaging in the new phase of mobile phones. So one thing about digital stuff, it gives you productivity. Now, the competitiveness is not just about who is better or not. No, it's making sure that you are still in vogue in the marketplace, in the economic place, that your organization, your parastatal is not obsolete in whatever do. It also strengthens innovation. I was recently I was seeing the development of microchips, and we have gone from a very, many of us remember those hard disk drive that you had, it's almost as heavy as your laptop, and it's just 2 MB or 3 MB. But now today you can have a small microchip that is as small as sand, or maybe a grain of sand, that has up to a terabyte, stuff like that. You see, those kind of stuff has increased competitiveness, innovation. It brings about ideas. So that's why we need to study and see digital what inclusion. And also it reduces inequalities by expanding employment and learning opportunity. Today, now we have many new career paths. Some people now, recently I was talking to a child, and I asked him, oh, well, what do you want to do? He said, he want to become a streamer. It's something, it's something that during our own time, or even for older people among us, that you would never have thought it stuff. But now you can know that a streamer is one of the highest earning something. Now many people know. I'm just seeing one guy called I Show Speed. No, it's just 21, but he's very popular as much as some big names in the world today, and it's because of that. So digital inclusion has to do with all those stuff. It's linking the workforce competence. And lastly, we will talk about why Africa needs to accelerate talent development to knowledge society. And major of this thing is so that we have one of the fastest growing youth population, like if not the fastest currently, is the fastest growing youth population, and it's projected to even increase higher. So if we can enhance and engage those that metrics, instead of making it to be a disadvantage for us, we can make that metrics into something that will become a great industrialization workforce. I remember in also in 2005, when they were showing how China transformed from one of the old world country to a big world country now, is because of industrialization. It has to do with engaging the youth, and this will make, without rapid development, there will be limited what advances. And imagine we have the high workforce but low what and knowledge. It will just be it's a case of when you have farm produce, right? If there's high farm produce and low transport and transport system, what will happen? It will what perish. So it's the same case we have in this scenario when we don't have talent development. So I want us to understand that this is not just another paper that we just want, is to see how the need for us to develop and grow in every aspect, especially as it pertains to what Africa. So our learning objective is to be understanding what digital inclusion means. And I said number one is what access to affordable internet and digital service. So we need to reliable broadband. We don't have cases where, if I know then when I was still quite young in Nigeria too, when what we call NEPA take lights or something like that, when there's power outage, also it affects the what do I say? It affects almost everything that you have to do. Also, there are some places that you don't have network coverage, and that's what I think MTN boasted for one of the for making them one of the leading telecommunication in Nigeria, is because they will say everywhere you go, which means that they have almost high broadband in every place where you go. So we need to understand access to affordable internet and digital devices. So as it pertains to, when we say digital devices, it does not have to do with maybe sophisticated of that one. It has to do with at the organization and government level. But in the case of even as individuals, digital service, access to laptops, access to phones that are digital, capable to do some kind of reforms. So also we'll be understanding digital skills and literacy for all demography. So basic skills of like coding. Recently, I was also in they have different classes here. There's in the US, they call it class 13, 12, 11, something like that. And as of in 5 years, like what we will call primary, maybe let's say primary one, primary two, they're already teaching them how to code. They're already teaching them how to code. And imagine that person, no matter what you want to say, no matter how bad it is, if that person can start learning how to code from that small age, now imagine how good it will be. It does not need to be, or she does not need to, any of them, whether it's a female or male, don't need to be so sophisticated or a bad, no, but the basic skills of programming. Whereas, not to shade anybody, but we have some students even studying computer science that don't know how to do coding. It's only they can pass the course. They can pass the course. I have access to plenty computer science students. My roommate there was computer science too when I was in I finished from Lagos State University too. So so imagine many students just want to get the degree. Now imagine those kind of things, data analytics, cloud tools, data-based management system. So we need to have this digital literacy for youth. Are you getting it? You don't need to be so sophisticated, but the primary objective is for you to understand that, okay, I can be able to do this. I can be able to do this by myself. I can write a Python code, maybe a print, just to say a print hello in hello print in Python or something is also good. It gives you that sense to, because once is a test, there will be a passion, right? So that is what we need. Now, also, we also need what inclusive digital policies and regulatory frameworks, because for every advantage, there's always a potential disadvantage to it, because people that can take hold of all this data literacy can also make it. That's why we have a great funding for cybersecurity now. I know. I think it was Facebook. Facebook said in 2020 or something, it pays how much? Is it $500 million every year for what is for cybersecurity? That is just cybersecurity. But I'm not even talking about back end security. But just imagine. So you know what it comes with. So we need regulatory policies so that people don't go over the board to ensure that, and maybe make people suffer for this kind of gift that was supposed to, this kind of things that are supposed to be a gift. And lastly, we'll be talking about accessible service for marginalized and rural what population. One of the major issues we face in Africa, basically, well, I know that we are getting better, so it's not like as if it's that worse, but we're still getting better and we can get better. One of the major issues is that we don't have first platforms for mobile stuff in Africa, like in the rural communities. Apart from the urban areas, there are many rural communities that may not have a network mast in that place. So they, up to now, so it's not like it's a olden day stuff. Up to now, at least I was still in Nigeria in 2021, 2022, something like that. So there are some places I went to that I was like, oh wow. So how do these people access to the other place? You have to move a certain distance for you to make a call. So imagine there's only just one call broadband service there, or stuff like that. So we need to understand that having access to these in the lands also, and as I used to say, that the more educated or the more exposed, not just education, because there's formal education, it depends on what kind of education you're talking about. But the more exposed a community is, the more exposed what is certain region or stuff is exposed to, is the more innovation can come. Are we together? So one thing we should understand is that we need access to those rural broadbands, because that is what we can bring um, about development. That's what we can be about investment. There are plenty of places in Africa today that there is a lot of natural resources. There's a lot of things that we can gain from there. But the investment policies is looking like we didn't waste money for this kind of thing. There's no access to digital coverage. There's no access to one thing or the other. So it's limits to there's limits to which we can go further, even as investing in economy. So one thing we should understand is that we as coming here is understanding we want to provide offline alternative or hybrid solutions for low connectivity communities. recently I was in a leadership academy and training stuff, and one of our work was that one of the tasks we were meant to do was to do what we call no internet app. So students can learn different set of things. It use local hosting. So I'm telling you, it's a business idea for someone that want to use it now. So that's what you get from this conference. So we use something like that. We built in different, let's say students can learn chemistry, maths, physics, any subject and they don't need internet access. What they just need to use is to download the app. They need internet access. Well, after downloading the app, to use the app, they don't need the internet service, and they can access the app without internet and learn maybe the build topic in those courses for those in those courses in those subject matter. So you see, it helps people that have low internet coverage to be able to access those kind of information, because truly information is wealth, as they usually say. So that's what why we are understanding digital inclusion. Are we still following me, please? I just want to be sure that we are following. You can give me a thumbs up. I can see. Are we together? Yeah, okay, thank you so much. So I like to get feedback from, yes, to engage the audience.
Yeah,
So
just go ahead, Dave. We can hear you loud and clear.
okay, thank you so much. So as I said, we are understanding these digital inclusions, and that's what it is. So now, what is the knowledge society explained? Like what this place is saying that the knowledge the society needs to transform into this digital inclusion. And number one is what transition from resource-based to knowledge-driven economy. Now, what does that mean? It means that what economies are moving from resource-driven growth. So it's not just only about I have this, I have this. Many countries, as I said, especially in Africa, so we are limiting it to Africa. So many African countries have very vast resources, right? So for Nigeria, we have crude oil, or we have limited facilities that can do the fractional distillation of crude oil or refining crude oil, and because of that, we pay more to even refine than what we export the crude oil for, which is kind of bizarre. So we understand that this is the case in many world countries, especially as it has to do with African countries. So it's not just about resource-based growth that, oh, we have this, we have this. No, people can use those kind of resources to drive it. If you look at countries that are thriving, they have limited, I don't think they have major resources as we do in Africa, but what they can do is that they know how to transform that what raw materials into what usable what products. And one thing again is that what many as nations we need to invest in human capital. When we talk about, I used to tell people that it's not just about building facilities. No, it's building people. People build system. So when you build people, those people would build system. When you transform life, those life transform society. So, for instance, now if I build a facility and I don't have any doctor, like let's say I have hospital and I have limited doctors to facilitate that, the hospital is good, right? But what happened is that it limits the access to which what many humans can be productive, or many of those community can be productive. So we need to invest in people. We need to invest in education, in research, in different stuff. And that's why um, when you see the top world countries, most of them is because they invest heavily in research, heavily in research. I mean, the US, I'm doing research, definitely. You might look at some things that some people are doing and you'll be like, do you necessarily need to do it? But those are the cutting edge that brings about this transformation we are seeing. I think recently I went to a facility that is studying the gravitational field in the Earth. That facility, there are only 4 in the world, and 2 is in the US, 1 is in Japan, 1 is in stuff, I think. So that facility, it takes, I think that facility is like $1 billion facility or something like that. is a huge facility. And just to study the Earth's gravitational field, just to know. So you see those kind of stuff. So we need to build into research. I know that is not something that we are very common in where we are coming, but we are getting there and we are getting better. So another stuff is that we need to understand the importance of innovation, data, and intellectual capital. So we understand that what continuous learning and research and development of human skills underpin what sustainable what growth and long-term what national success. Just as I said in the preluding point, that what when you beat people, it gives you national what success. And also this it creates competitiveness, like what we said in the introductory part. It gives us the idea to learn more, to bring more, to even be better in whatever we are what doing. So also the role of ICT, automation, and AI. So we need to understand where digital technologies, ICT, automation now provide that those are the core to infrastructure for knowledge creation. In today's world now, many people, I think we're still talking about it, the need for the fight between AI and human cognitiveness. So many people now, most people don't do anything. Just go on ChatGPT, do this, I do this. It's here to stay. It does not mean that no matter how angry we are, no matter how teachers that is here to stay. So, but what are we saying? The essence of it is for us to understand that it creates efficiency. When we partner this with human knowledge, it creates efficiency, effectiveness, and advanced what problem solving. So are we following? So together we are reshaping our what governance education system by enabling what smarter and what faster, more adaptive what systems to do this. Now, the implication. So, how does this transform as a society? Is it transform into the implication for employment, productivity, and stuff. So, as the what technology reshape work by elevating digital skills, analytical and stuff. What happened that there's more investment, there's more what partnership, there's more what productivity. So it create jobs, stay competitive in the global market. Now today you see, I think there's also what we call in medicine and in chemistry, there's what we call rates for molecular cars or stuff like that. So you see many countries are saying, oh, we have the fastest photocatalyst, we have this. So everybody, there's this tribe, and what does it do? It creates job opportunity, right? It gives more investment opportunities, and it gives what access to what different what stuff. There are many countries now that you have to use a country what systems or HPCs and stuff before you can work. Like for people that are doing computational studies or computational chemistry, computational in engineering and stuff, there's what we call HPC. So they have to have access to that HPC. There's a global HPC, I think, in UC Berkeley, that they work, is it UC Berkeley or UC San Diego, that all of them will have to send their stuff into for them to work and do all those kind of stuff. So imagine, I don't think we have that in Nigeria. I don't know whether we do have something like that in Nigeria. But I'm just saying it's why I'm saying Nigeria is that I don't know about. I know there are other countries like Ghana, Kenya that might be in our audience today. Well, I'm just using an example of my country. So when you hear me using Nigeria, it's because I have access to the knowledge. I mean, I have access to. So not like I'm being biased of saying we're only changing Nigeria. No, everything we're saying here affects cut across to all our African communities and countries. So as I said, it is what it gives what employment, productivity, and national what competitiveness. So there's this race to become better, to become more innovative and more what and more stuff. And why? How does this transpire into a greater use? Number one is that it gives a global future of work trends. Now, if you notice now, the more work trends, if you can see in every place, there's a decline into experimentalists. Now everybody are now into what digital stuff. So you have automation and AI reshaping job roles. Now everybody will be like, how many AI skills do you know? Do you know coding? Do you know LLM? Maybe large language. If you do, it's an added advantage. Most people now, even in research today, they are telling us to be able to provide our data that it can be able to train what AI is. So you see now everybody's going to AI automation. Nobody want to go to the laborious step of of doing everything handheld. Are you getting it? Imagine us today have to go through this step of doing multiple long multiplication to multiply maybe 1, 2, 3 by maybe 1, 1, 1. Imagine that kind of stuff, but you in your device now, so you can do that in 2 seconds, right? So there's automation. There's now a future trend, and it's going to increase. It's not like it's going to crash. So it's not something that if you start now, I don't think uh, there will be more something. No matter how saturated it is, it will be the more saturated, the more saturation, the more the advancement. So that is one thing about this AI stuff. The more the saturation, the more the word advancement. So there's always grow. So it will not be a race of who is more better, a race of who is more advanced, a race of what makes us a better qualities and all. So that's what we are saying, that what automation, the global future of work trends in this digital inclusion is that you have automation and AI reshaping jobs. You also have rise of remote work and hybrid workspace in today's world. Before now, before pre-COVID, everybody was fine. There was nothing like remote work. Like, why will somebody, or limited, even though there is, but it's very limited. Why can't you come to work? Why will you have to do a job from home? Well, after post-COVID, what happened? There was a very rise in inclined work, remote job, that now today remote job is a thing on its own. Many companies even don't have maybe a physical structure where they meet. Everything is based online, and that's where the world is going to. And some is that hybrid workspace where, okay, we work online, we work on site too. So there's a global inclusion, there's a global work trend that data digital inclusion bring for us. Are we getting it? So there's this more advancing in remote jobs, and now many people, even in medicine too. So don't think that it's only limited to people that are in computer, people that are in accounting. No, no, no. I think there was one that I saw recently. That they did a medical surgery from Japan to, I've forgotten the two countries, so I don't want to give wrong data or wrong facts, but it was very far countries. So it was not like something like Nigeria and Ghana. No, it was like far Asia to maybe Europe or something like that. So imagine that kind of cases. So imagine we are now doing, and now they're even going to medicine is going to robotics too. There's a course that they call biomedical engineering, where they are implanting robotics to do some certain things, even your oncology too. So even oncology too, there's advancing medical robotics. So we must understand that what this digital stuff, it needs advancing, it gives rise to remote work. Another stuff again is digital entrepreneurship and gig and economic growth. So like what I said earlier, now many people that are now doing streaming on YouTube. YouTube is now a thing, right? Now some people who want to gain money from YouTube, Twitch, although I don't see how, I don't find it pleasing, but it is what it is, right? Many people are getting millions and millions of dollars and nairas, depending on the millions of dollars are you getting for digital entrepreneurship. Some people now sell online, they call it online trips, where they sell clothes online. You are right where you are, and somebody can buy clothes from wherever he is, and it will be sent to the person. So you see that what it gives rights to digital entrepreneurship. And or another also stuff is that it demand what STEM, ICT, and soft skills. So science and technology. That's why I said that fundamentally you cannot remove the fundamental basics of technology, science, and stuff. What AI and automation and digital advancement does, it gives, as I said, it gives advancement into where our threshold is. Before, in maybe in 2000 and in early 2000s, there are limited things we could do with our laptop. Now in this 2000s, in this present time now, in this decade, there's many things we can do. And as we are going into the future, there are many millions of things we will also be able to do. So it gives demand for STEM, ICT, and soft skills. So that's why we have to grow with that trend. If you are a CEO of organization, a boss in a parastatal in an organization, in government and stuff, we have to be looking into the insight of how well we can be in the cutting edge of the economy we find ourselves in. Because as you go further, there'll be a need to remove some of those certain things. Just during the, I think, 2006 or from the early 2000s thereabout, there was this cut in, there was this general banking for, if people that have followed that news, there was this general banking cut that affected many bankers when ATM started coming out, right? When automated systems of tellers started coming out. So many teller work was being cut short because they were now moving into digital system, right? There was this global general national retrenchment. I'm talking about Nigeria now. So as I said earlier, I've given case scenarios, and if from anywhere we find ourselves in. So there was this because of teller system that was now automated that you don't necessarily have to go and meet a teller. You can go to an ATM to cash out your money, and there was this general retrenchment in stuff. So the demand for STEM, ICT, and soft skills will help you to be in the cutting edge of using stuff. Then there's also what we call a lifelong learning as a necessity. So, like as I said earlier, like professionals now need to learn how to new tools adapt throughout their career. So, if you are here, one of the things that this helps us to build is that it gives you the need to strive to be better off. So, wherever you find yourself, try to be in your cutting edge. You might not, as I said, you don't necessarily have to be quote and unquote the professionals in those fields, right? In you cannot drag with maybe you cannot be if you can, yes, definitely you can, but you might not necessarily have to be and the dragging with someone that is into coding or something. But the basic stuff you can be able to do, the basic digital advancement you can be able to do, the basic what modeling if you are into architecture or your company is into, there's a basic modeling skills you're supposed to be able to know. There's a basic what programming skills you're supposed to know. So you need to be in that cutting edge so that when this phase of maybe manual stuff, there'll be a time where manual stuff will be almost obsolete. So you don't need to be left out in those kind of stuff. You need to be in the cutting edge. And that's what brings about what life learning what struct. Now let's now look at Africa as a whole, Africa digital landscape. Let's look at it as a whole. So number one is to understand that what you have rapid mobile and internet penetration. As I said earlier, that where we started, we are getting better. So we're increasing, but we can do more. As I said, Africa digital ecosystem is accelerating with worldwide mobile access rapidly rising, smartphone adoption. Now, many people are using smartphones. There's no more using of Nokia and all those Java or Symbian phones. Now we have many smartphones. So over 570 million internet users, while the continent leads in worldwide in mobile money innovations with more than $800 billion in annual transactions. So like there's a name for it. We call it black tax here. So, right. So that's why there are many apps now. Like you can see Lemfa, you can see Remitly, you can see there are many apps now that do this interconversion. So you see, before the only way you can transfer money from, I'm just giving an instance, the only way you can transfer money from maybe from foreign currency to maybe someone in Kenya, in someone in Nigeria or Ghana, in Sierra Leone, in South Africa, in Egypt was through Western Union, right? So there's only Western Union or the person will have to call by itself and change the money. But now with the use of app in less than 5 minutes, you can send money from a dollar account to the person accounts maybe in naira, in shillings, in anything that in CDs, anything you find itself in. So you see that there's now many penetration and the smartphone adoption is likely to reach like 75% in 2030. So it's that we're getting there, but we can still be better. Another thing again, as I said earlier, also is that when we talk about Africa, is that there's a youth demographic advantage that we are not leveraging on. There's a youth demographic advantage we are not what leveraging on. And one of the things is that what Africa is rapidly rising. We have 70% under 30 70% which is under 30, and there's which make 1/3 of the world's youth by 2050. So which means that what if we can leverage on those youths and be able to train them, we can be at the cutting edge of industrialization or in information as it has to do with technology. So one thing as in Africa, as our landscape, when we go back is like what we look at one innovations that we what innovations can we do that we can assess this large demographic to be at our advantage, because we don't want them to be in the hula hoop of what of rotating. Okay, I went to school not just only for my education. I say I went to school, I have a degree. No, what digital skills can we build? Can we be and they can be input in these people that when they are done, they can be able to access the or be in the cutting edge in the world competition. So that's one thing we should leverage on as in the youth demographic advantage. Another thing again is Another thing again is the growing digital innovation hubs and startup. Like over me and my elder brother. My elder brother is into networking. I mean, he's a network engineer. He studied computer sciences. He's a network engineer, and we're talking about fintech. If you notice that there's a rise in the amount of fintech that is coming to, which is very good. Is very good also, but there's also need to become so that people will not take advantage of those things and become a burden or even maybe exploit other people. But as we're saying, but in growing digital innovation, there's over 120,000 active tech ops around Africa, and these African startup funding crossed $5 billion in 2022, led by fintech. I think there was Paystack. Paystack was an African person that did, and I think Cowrise was also an African. There are many fintech startup, many tech startup that are at the cutting edge. I think the owner of BlackRock now is an African, is a Nigerian guy. What's his name? I think he's even under 30, if not even know if it's 30 years, but I think BlackRock owner. So why are we saying this is that is for us to understand that that's what African have, that growing digital innovation and ups and startup. But the limitation to many of this is government policy funding. Are you getting it? Is which we'll talk about in maybe the next coming slides and all. So that is one thing we should understand. So there will also be a persistent or digital divide. As I said, there is this um, share divide between, if you're in the urban city, you're in the urban, if you're in the rural, it's almost like you are in like no access into some of all this internet and stuff like that. Also, there's also income issues too, where people that have low income cannot access some of these digital world stuff. And lastly, we'll talk about infrastructure and affordability challenges. One of the major issues with this internet service is what I said, that there are many things that we cannot be able to do. There are many startups also that cannot be done because of the low access to network coverage. Are we together? Low access to network coverage and large stuff like. And which there was I talking to? I don't have any issue. That's why you can see that many times people can stream, people can do some certain kind of stuff in maybe developed country in a very fast speed and stuff like that, compared to some part of our world which will be like, oh, we are doing this, or we are very slow behind. Not because of that, it's because of our network coverage. And for you to have access to that very good network coverage, you spend more. So you see, whereas we can be able to have good network coverage and as well as be economical. So that's one thing we have to also consider. That's in Africa in general. But as I said, we are getting better, we are getting there, or we can become better. So now, what are the key skills for the future of work? Number one is what digital literacy, ICT, and proficiency. So if you are looking for what are the skills you need to be, so as I said, you don't necessarily have to do everything. You can look for one, stay in that one, and be good at it. So you need digital literacy and ICT proficiency. You also need AI or automation and competency. You need data analytics and problem solving skills, creative and innovations, bringing ideas, innovations, technological advancement, and all. Also, another one you need is what? Adaptability and communication collaboration. You need what? Leadership and what? Critical what? Thinking. These are the necessary skills we need for our what access into what into transforming life as it relates to what digital service. Now we talk about what barriers to digital inclusion in Africa. Yeah, barriers to digital inclusion in what Africa. Number one, we have, as I said, we have high cost of connectivity and devices. We have weak ICT infrastructure in rural regions. We have low digital literacy rates. We also have what language and accessibility barriers. We have gender disparity in technological access in some part of this has to do with rural places. I know that in the urban place we are better off in that aspect. There's no gender divide, but when it comes to rural place, there's a limitation to some. There's gender biases in some of those cases, and we have low investment in or limited investment in what digital what education. So what are the strategies into what doing digital what inclusion? So number one is to expand our affordability, expand affordable what broadband and universal what access. So where we have affordable what broadband, so I don't need to spend much on data. Some people spend up to even if not more. I'm not saying I'm just cut and cut for the regular data usage. If they spend also 30, maybe close to maybe let me see the um, range. I'll say so. Let's say in the US, I spend at max $30 for unlimited data access. In if I'm converting it to Nigeria might someone in Nigeria may spend times two of that data for the same kind of data coverage I'm using. So you see that, and many people live below the dollar, and many people live below the dollar income stuff. We are aware of that in Africa. I know that some of those stats are still updated, but it's still a thing of something we need to what consider. Another thing again is that there's we need public-private partnership for infrastructure what development, where government has to work with private companies, looking at how policies and what can affect and affect what this kind of usage, so that okay, we are sure that if I'm investing as a private company, what am I getting? What am I sure that the government is going to be what doing well with whatever I have? Another thing again that we need national digital skills what training programs where there are facility that facilitates what digital trainings. I think when I was quite young, there was one thing, is it NIT, Nigeria Information Technology. They usually do this training where you come, if you write an exam, if you are accepted, you have, I think, a month or something, I've forgotten, it's quite very long, a month or something training into digital. Some they will give you aspects in which you will choose right, and those are the kind of things that will make bridge student. But I don't think if there might be, but it will not be trinket here and there. So we need what this national subsidy, that we are sure that it's cut across it, and not limited to national. Where does it start? It starts in our schools. It starts in our educational system. So we need very imposed and very imposed what digital literacy in our primary, secondary, and tertiary what institution. We need to ensure that what our primary, tertiary, and secondary institutions are not what limited. As I said, if you look at some cases here, there are many children that start coding, start digital skills at very young age. For 5 years, they're already doing some things that some of us that are above 30 or something might not be able to do. Now, we're not saying that we have to do everything. Yes, we have what we know, but at the barest minimum, we should be able to do some of what the statistics. We should be able to have even digital what literacy. Are we together? We should have digital what
Yes.
literacy. Yeah. Yeah. So we need to train teachers to not just only the students, also teachers, also our in our office place, in our organization. We need to train each person's. Are we getting what I say? And we need to train people on how to do this. Now, for instance, just at the BRS, some people may not know how to convert Word document into PDF document. I'm not shading any stuff, but I'm just saying that and we have people like that working in government parastatals. Now, it's not like, as I said, that you don't have a knowledge of something is not an issue, but staying in that ignorance is where the issue is, right? And that's why this training helps to facilitate that need to understand that, okay, this is where I'm lacking in, and this is where I need to advance myself in. Are we getting what I'm saying? As we always say now, they say there's nothing like area of weakness, it is area of growth. So we don't call it weakness, strength, and weakness. No, we call it strength and area of growth. Everybody's advancing in the way that fine-tune something. So it's not a weakness. A weakness means that you can never survive from it. So we call it area of growth. So that is what I'm saying. So now you said what digital literacy. Then we have what community digital centers and inclusive what ICT policies, where we build what community digital centers, something like a cyber cafe. We have a cyber cafe. We have maybe a digital library where students can come have access to some kind of workstation, even though they may not be able to get a laptop, they can have a workstation in maybe in a community where people can have access and do some certain things. And they have the data saved, they have their files saved and all those kind of stuff. And so those are the kind of stuff. So we said for the strategy is number one, expanding affordability and broader. Number two is public and private partnership. Number three is what national and digital skills. Number four is digital literacy in primary, secondary, and tertiary institution. And number five is what community digital what centers where we have capacity to all those kind of things. So now preparing the workforce for knowledge society. Now, how do we prepare is to integrate what these digital schools in our education system. We have to embed digital literacy, coding, and ICT competence. So I just want to be sure, Prof. Lambe, how many minutes do I have? Because I have
Yes. Okay, we took your time a little, so if you can round
yeah.
up in 10, about 10 minutes.
Oh, in
We'll
10
come
minutes.
back.
Oh, I wish. Okay.
Okay, what's the
Included
issue?
something. No, I
You wanted to
wanted us
demonstrate
to,
something.
I want the participant to come again. I needed time to just, but it's fine. We can
No,
still
no,
do it.
time to do what? Is this something practical?
Yeah, practical. I want us to group ourselves into, I don't know how many there are. So if there are like five, six, or we can do
Okay,
two
we
groups.
we usually have
Yes,
a brainstorming session, so
yeah,
that has taken
brainstorming
care of it.
station,
Okay,
something like that. So I
okay,
want us to come up with an idea where sorry for if you think it's an intellectual property, it's fine. But you come up with the idea, just a quick one, 5 minutes, talk about your strategy, your implementation issues, your implementation, and also I need us to talk about that so that it's not just only about okay, we read and we come and just download all this information. No, there must be practical sessions in which we what do those kind of things. So
okay.
as I
What we
said,
do the
yeah.
the in-house brainstorming session, which is part of our program, is taking care of that. So just see if
Oh,
you can
that
wrap up in 10,
Okay,
in
that's
about
very
10.
good. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. So I just want to be sure we are doing those kind of things. So as I said, preparing, so we need integration of digital skills and in educational system, we have upskilling and reskilling of existing workers. So as I said, we must advance up to offer continuous and professional development program for civil servants, private sector employees, and also provide targeted training for digital transformation. For instance, digital analytics, ICT technicians, and cybersecurity officers. So these are very important so that they are in the cutting edge. They're always transforming, they're always increasing. There's always a growth process for them. Also, we can also incentivize digital entrepreneurship by creating fundings, grants, incubation programs to support youth-led tech startups, not just only youth, or generally startups by simplifying business registration and regulatory what process for digital ventures. Another thing again is promoting STEM education and innovation what culture. So we have to strengthen our STEM programs in schools, in university to build what technology ready workforce. We need something that also, as I said, I'm just giving instances. I think when I was in school, there was something we do in the Southwest region. I don't know. Yeah, in the Southwest region, it's called Vision 2020. It was more of like a futuristic stuff. So you as a student to come together, you have to build a maybe it's for science and technology actually. You build maybe something like a prototype of a work thing that you have idea of, and all. So I think that time my group we did on man what area vehicle, that is UAV for agriculture. So we look at the issues that is faced with farmers using their own by spraying insecticide by themselves. So we did a robotics that can fly. It's like a small aeroplane or something like this that you put the insecticide there and you send it maybe and it's spray the insecticide by itself instead of you being the one receiving the harmful substance by inhaling it and all. So those are the kind of ideas that helps what student grow, helps technology imbued, and those collaborations between global tech firms and training scholarships and all. So that's very important as as a society, that we need to include all these things in our platforms. Now, also we look at opportunities, that what does this bring for youth? Is that it gives what upskilling and reskilling again, as I said, ICT startup and entrepreneurship, that youth can leverage digital skills to create solutions in fintech, agri-tech, edtech, logistics, healthcare. Also, it also gives online learning and certification. Now we have something like this. We have access to Coursera, Udemy, LinkedIn Learning, Google Career Certificates. There's also Amazon, AWS, Amazon Learning for people. There's also Khan Academy. There are many something like that that gives you that training. There's also affordable for free course in coding, data skills, digital projects. You can find all these things, and you can even learn on YouTube too. So it's not like as if, yeah, the only thing that YouTube might not give certification, but the in-hand practical step can be learned on YouTube. Then you can get certification from all these places like Microsoft and the rest. Then there's also tech careers in AI, data science, cloud computing, and cybersecurity. So we need there'll be high global demand for data talent across everything. And as I said, AI and data science now is the lucrative job. Every workplace you want to see now, especially if you are finding job, especially in the US, there you will see AI, data science, data analytics, and stuff like that, because that is where we are going into. And what are the challenges and risks that this cause? Because as I said, for every what startups and information, there's what challenges and what risks. And one of them is that, which is unfortunate, which, as I said, in one of my examples, is what job displacement from automation. So now there are many things that many people have been displaced from their jobs, because why? there's automation of AI and stuff. So that you need to be at the cutting edge to be sure that's what I am here, so that when this automation comes, especially in your paracenter, it will not retrench you because what you are not there. So there's also inequality in access to digital opportunity. So as I say, if you are not in the urban area, there's limited resources, not just only urban area, there are limited resources also in some certain place, in some certain defunded organization, in some certain parastatals, and also cybersecurity and safety issues. This is one of the biggest issues we face in Africa generally. This is what some people call it, in a local term, Yahoo boys, which is cybersecurity, money laundering, and all those kind of stuff, and malware thefts, and different kinds of, or we call it phishing. PSHING. So many things like that. So because of, as I said, if there's no policies that can communicate those kind of stuff, there will be what little or more there'll be more of these cybersecurity issues. There's also because, as I say, inadequate policy implementation. So there must be a policy implementation, or NCC, like it depends, your NCC, maybe your National Communication Commission, will be very active in making sure that all these issues and stuff, and risks of exclusion for vulnerable or population. So many people now, we cannot do digital electronic voting and stuff, because of why many people don't have access to some digital devices. There's issues with uh, um, poor internet connections, or digital something for older generations. So we need to understand that these are the challenges. But these are challenges does not mean that it should limit us from not doing our digital world addition. So how do we do this to make sure that what we advance in policies and recommend in policies, as well as making sure that what we have access to this. Number one is to have affordable what digital access policies. You don't need to spend or break the bank for you to have a fintech startup in some kind of places. So that's one thing. Number two is that there's national digital skilling what framework that I can have access to what different what kind of what or the same data materials I need anywhere I am in Africa, anywhere I am in my country, anywhere I am in the stuff. So I must be able to have that access. What will that do? It will make sure that I can start off from anywhere I am. Another thing again is what ethical and inclusive technology, what development to ensure that everything we are doing, you will see that in some app they'll say that this is also for what we call digital impaired what people, or they'll say for vision impaired people, for audio impaired people. So those kind of we call it accessibility platform or toolbar. If you use your Microsoft Word, you have seen it accessibility so that a blind person can be able, or somebody that is vision impaired, not just blind, vision impaired may be able to have access to your stuff. Somebody that is audio impaired might be able to have access to your stuff. So also incentivizing innovation and research, making sure that what people go into, like if there's funding for this, to give people the idea to be able to go into their research into stuff and all, and also strengthen what digital right and privacy what law. You see that every day and every time they always maybe sue what all these social media platforms like WhatsApp, Facebook for privacy. So they are always at privacy, so that if I'm sure that I'm sending maybe a file or a document to Professor Lambe, I'm sure that what I'm not the whole world is not seeing it. That's just it. If I'm sending sensitive what information, I'm sure that the whole world is not what seeing it. So in frameworks for data inclusion, this is just like a summary of it. It's like assets plus skills plus innovation plus policies plus partnership. That is what gives a framework. It also building a lifelong what learning culture. Also, you align your education with labor market demand. So it's not just only the theoretical knowledge of what is chemistry, what is physics, what is math, what is accounting, and all. It is more of like do we have the necessary skills to do it? Do we have the necessary, how many of, there were many software I could not use, not as I said, we are getting better. There were uh, theoretically, theoretically, I knew what I was doing, but when it comes to software skills, I was back. But now there are many softwares, there are many resources, and I can be able to work on, and this will put me in the cutting edge. And it also creates pathways for digital world job opportunity. So if there's any implementation roadmap you need, one is the short term 0 to 6 baseline digital skills. You also have the medium term establishing innovation hubs in major what region, and we have the long term. So you can also fully what digitalize what workforce align with knowledge and economic need. So this was the group activity, but as it's good, Prof. Abed said that what we are in our brainstorming sessions that are embedded also in our course of our schedule. We don't necessarily have to do this now. So in our embedded system, some of all these things will be discussed and be done, and so that you can implement these things, because part of your implementation policies is that what you implement every of the trainings you have gotten from here in your brainstorming issue, whether it's digital, whether it's communication, and whether it's any other what stuff. So in conclusion, one thing we have seen is that we must understand that digital inclusion is essential for what African economic transformation. Number two is that the future of work demand what continuous what learning and innovation. And lastly, partnership across all sectors are critical for preparing what African what platforms. So any questions? Thank you so much for listening. I'll be open to questions.
Please, can we give the round of applause? Thank you very much, David Ante from the US. We appreciate the insightful presentation. Thank you for being a part of this team. Thank you so very much. But just to ask participants, I know we're pressed with time, but any thought, any question, any comment? Okay, so Dave, we have a professor, one of our professors from maybe coming through. Just hold on.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, hi David. Thank you for
Good morning,
that.
sir. Good morning,
Yeah.
Professor.
Yes, I just want to find out, what do you think is the contributing factor to the fact that we in Africa are paying more for ICT than people in developed countries?
So I think there are just two major reasons. Number one is government policies. That's the basic truth. Number one is government policies, and number two is resources that facilitate. So this is where the public and private sector combine it. So let me talk about government policies now. Let's say you know how much we spend to do these reforms, like for instance, to get certification to get a land, to get you have to develop communities, right? You have to communities, the area that you are putting that broadband. Let's say, for instance, I am a owner of a telecommunication. For me to get a land to get those things, the laborious step I have to go and take to just own a land where I'll set up the mass, not to talk of now the policies I'll get from the government. I have to, and you know how in Africa we have to pay our way into, you get what I'm saying, into those kind of things. Now talking about this stuff, also ensuring that those kind of things are set up. So now that those policies limits the kind of way that many investors, because now when there is many investment, there'll be competition, right? And when there's more competition, what will happen to price index? Price index will drop, because the more competition, the more what many people are trying to be, who is more favorable. So that I can say, oh, because the truth about it is that the access is already there. MTN, like I'm just giving instance, if you are using MTN, Glo, Ethel, or Zmogo or stuff like that, the data connection is already in the atmosphere. Let me just give it that. The only thing that I would pay for is the maintenance of the marks of the stuff like that. But because there's little competition, so I have almost like price monopoly. Do you get what I'm saying? So more of that is, so if I impose this price, many people will not be there. So, but if you have like 17 telecommunication saying I want to be the one with the most users, what would you think will happen to price? It will drop. So when there's more policies that can help people invest in these parastatals, then also resources and trained personnel. Sometimes some of all these um, companies will have to fly in maybe resource personnel for them to be able to do something that if we have trained personnel wherever we are in, like in Africa, we have that limited cost due to transportation system and all. I don't know whether I get me, sir.
Yeah.
So we need a partnership between the public sector, which is government, and private institution. And then we need good policies that can help many people be willing to invest in this business, in this sector.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I don't know if there's any other. All right, Prof. So one of our other professors is coming through.
Okay, sir.
So with this you have done now, Dave, and professors asking questions, we can simply describe you as an associate professor after now. That's what they like to
Very soon. Yeah.
Hi, Dave.
Good
How
afternoon,
are you
Professor.
doing?
I'm
Yeah,
good.
nice to meet you. This
Thank
is
you.
Professor Ismail Remy with you. I want you to reflect on the nature of our settlements in Nigeria, especially in northern Nigeria, where I hail from. We have a lot of remote, dispersed rural settlements that bridging the digital divide is kind of very challenging in the sense that these communities are quite remote, uh, often without access to electricity, as well as even basic education. Some of them, they have only primary school. So that kind of remoteness and coupled with poverty and lack of government presence in such communities, I think it's a huge challenge to the issue of ICT governance, AI and all this digital transformation that the whole world is embracing. So I just want to hear your take and reflections on that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Professor. So as you just rightly said, I think now normally I don't like to lay problem, but there's somebody that must be responsible for it, right? There's always, for every issue, somebody was supposed to be responsible for it. And this first tracks back to our government. So when I say government now, it means that for there to be dispersed land, that means there's little or no development in some of these communities. So there's just people that just settle, and the next maybe settlement or where they can get a good maybe like say advanced urban stuff is in the maybe in a very dispersed place. So first thing first, I would say in something that in government stakeholders in that state, or let me just use it, in that states, government stakeholders in those states should come together and see what we can do. And one of the way is to maybe have a, will I say, technology. When I say technology, it cut across everything. Maybe it has to do with healthcare, it has to do with schools, a technology center between like 2 or 3 of these communities. It does not have to necessarily be big, right? So if you have like something like a digital hub in two of communities that we are putting in these 3 communities that are close by. So what do we have? We have now more what engagement in those kind of stuff. Now, when there's more engagement, there'll be need for what? Development, right? When there's engagement, there will be need for development. So now what do we do? It transfer into what? Training people or training those community children, youth in using those assets, right? So when we train them, there'll be need to expand. And when we have expansion, what do we have? We have what? Investment. So when there's investment in those kind of stuff, so now you have now people looking at, okay, can we build an institution of maybe something in this kind of community? Can we what stuff? So we might say that, okay, due to educational training for some of these places, now there will not be need, because for you to open a digital access, you need to train these students or these children or these youth. So now there'll be need for educational development also in those communities. Now, when there's a need for educational development, if you have one big secondary school, maybe within those 3 or institution in those 3, I know that we might say that as I said, when you start up a thing, many people will not have this engagement test. But once it continue going and they see the need, step by step, little by little, there'll be more engaged, more stuff. And what will happen? You have more educated people that is now being, and as I said, that when you build people, people build systems. So when you build these people, there will not be need for them to go and use those digital facilities, because it starts with education. When they are trained, you build educational systems. They'll be able to use the digital facilities. Then by using digital facility, you have large workforce with trained something minds. So what will happen? Some of them may have startups that now will now bring investment into those communities, into those areas. So by little step, you have been able to, in little or small step, you have been able to solve that kind of cases, even without looking at it from a big standpoint. Because sometimes when government want to do their own, they always want to build it in the big platform, but you are not accessing those rural communities. So in those kind of cases, build a small school where they are being taught, have a digital hub where they can use those what are taught into facility. You have trained those minds. Those minds will see the need to transform themselves. Some of them may start investment, some of them they may have partnership, and by bringing partnership, they bring investment. By bringing investments, you are developing that community step by step by step. Soon, that is how community settlement will develop.
Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Wonderful insight.
Thank you so much. Can we give the big round of applause? So thank you very much, David Ante. It's a pleasure to have had you being part of the facilitators in this particular Cairo, Egypt 2026 conference. Thank you very much, Dave. Please, Dave, don't forget to send to my WhatsApp your presentation.
Yes,
because part of the things we'll share with the participants. Thank you very much. And do have a great day ahead.
You too, sir.